As I sit here waiting to do this review early in the morning with a nice cup of Joe, yeah, we're at the end remnants of Hurricane Ida, so the weather is nasty. It's raining, some flash flooding going on, something to really put people in a bad mood. But it's certainly not as bad as what's going on in Australia. Australia has a myriad quandaries. Its government is enslaving its people to rather draconian rules, and it did so after first mandating that all of its citizens give up its guns and it disarm the entire populace. Now, that's because the very good people of the land down under would certainly never permit their leaders and their rulers to act in the manner they are currently acting if they still had their guns. Now, maybe that's the reason they're recycling old movies, bringing them over here to America, and changing the name of the original movie. So, well, possibly we may not notice how boring it is. Cinematic class is about to begin. Your professor is in. Greetings, salutations, and other sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies, and as you can tell from our setting, tonight's movie is a horror film that is called Witches of Blackwood. But was that really the name? You see, it all surrounds Claire. Claire is a woman who is feeling rather disconnected with life. You could probably say that about a lot of women. In any event, she has to return to her hometown because, tragically, her father has died. And upon returning to her hometown, she discovers that, hey, she fits in here pretty well. She has a sense of being, a sense of importance, a sense of accomplishment. Not only does she fit in, she also has a destiny to fulfill, and it all surrounds a coven of witches. Ooh, spooky stuff, eh? Hey, Claire is played by Cassandra Mcgrath. Her Uncle Cliff, who is a familiar, for those of you familiar with witches and their covens, is played by John Voce, and Will, her boyfriend, is played by Kevin Hoffbauer. Will is trying frantically to get Claire back into the city, away from her hometown, back to the life he can, where they can love each other and he can give her. She wants nothing of it. Sarah is played by Francesca Waters, and Sarah is Claire's mother. It was pretty much assumed that Claire's mother was dead a good number of years. Ha ha ha! So there's a surprise going on there, right? So, all right, behind the camera we have, this movie is directed by Kate Whitebread. It is written by Darren Markey. Our editor is John Scott, and our director of photography is Paul Hughes. Now, I mention all these people because we have something going on here that is really bizarre. There may be a decent witch story somewhere under this tale, but my God, these folks have combined to obscure it as best as they can. A lot of times, well, how do I say this tactfully? There's a thing called subtle horror. Okay, the British are very good at this. Okay, the subtle horror is something that unfolds rather comfortably, dramatically, rather than ta-da. Okay, but believe me when I tell you that this movie brings a subtle horror to an entirely new level. It is a level of boredom that you would expect maybe from a Biden press conference. Okay? That's where it starts. This was originally released in 2019. And when it first came out, the title of the movie was Unlit. Now, as I look at the two titles, Witches of Blackwood seems to be a little bit more appropriate. But because the movie came out in 2019 and Unlit didn't do particularly well, they decided to change the name to Witches of Blackwood and then ship it back over here now. So technically it's a new release, but it's not a new release. It just underwent a name change. And I suspect, I'd have to talk to John Scott to be sure, but I suspect there was a little bit of editing done too, because the ending climax reel is short and it begs for more. And I have a feeling they may have done that in bringing it over. You know, I don't want to insult anybody in the UK. This movie was not made in the UK. I was just saying that the British are good at subtle horror. This movie was actually made in Cumberland, Lorne, which is in Australia. So you have that going for yourself. Well, folks, I got to tell you, you know, it was very hard watching this movie. It truly was. And it wasn't hard because the movie didn't make any sense or because it was incoherent. It was just so damn slow. I mean, you have to struggle to stay awake during this movie. That's how slow it is. And that's why a cup of coffee will help. In fact, if you can make this coffee intravenous, it'll probably help you get through this movie a hell of a lot better. It's just, oh my God. We needed much better directing in this. We needed much better pacing. If there is a gem of a story hidden under this thing, these people did nothing to bring it out, and you would have to reshuffle the deck and start from the beginning and make it in this fashion. No, it's no-dos is exactly what it is. There aren't a whole lot of special effects in this too. You get a whole coven of witches. There's got to be something going on, right? But all we get are those foggy contact lenses, and that's really it. There's not a whole lot going on here as far as that's concerned. Maybe they were going for cerebral horror, and in that case, my God, it's even a bigger disaster. So this one is not going to be a nice Australian ploy to get your money, re-releasing an old movie and bringing it over here in an attempt to make money because their entire country is shut down. It's not going to work here, not as long as your purveyor of truth is around. This one hits the skids. We'll give it an F. And now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.